This classic whistle-stop presentation is brought to you by Out West. Love the West? So do we. Click the icon or go to scvoutwest.com.
Many times people ask me what is my favorite toy locomotive. Without doubt, I love this Corvette locomotive. It was made in Germany. It's an American 440. Supposed to be sold over here. They put the bell and the cowcatcher on. But I think it's wonderful proportions. This happens to be a clockwork. And now compare this locomotive to a very toy steamer up here. You see, this says toy all the way. The proportions are crazy. Look at the big wheels, way out of proportion. Look at these passenger cars with the little windows and the people out of scale with the thing. That's what makes toy trains so appealing, is that sort of folklore type of proportions. Here's a unique trolley car made in Germany. When you pull up the pantograph, let's see what happens. You notice how it stops, rings 3 times, opens the door, closes them, and takes off. Cast iron was very popular beginning in the 1880s, right up to 1930. The trouble was, these floor trains, if you dropped them, things would break off. And they also have a high mortality rate. They're all made out of heavy cast iron and very hard for the kids to hold. In particular, is the 999. It is made proportionately to scale, even though the details are very crude. And if you look at the catalog picture down below, the way it appeared in the catalog made by the Pratt Letchworth Company in 1900, and the big cast iron train itself, it's pretty close to the proportions. Now this, of course, held the speed record, the prototype, right after the turn of the century. Here comes my first toy train. It was made by Hafner and sold in Sears Roebuck. I thought when I got this train, from the pictures I saw that my mother had taken with her old postcard camera on the Christmas tree, that I must have been at least 5 years old. But in looking through my baby book later on, I discovered that I was only 9 months old when I had this train. Evidently my father bought it for himself to play with. This is my first electric train, about 1925. It was the cheapest thing that Ives made. No headlights, just a cast iron thing. But I was proud of it because I didn't have to wind them up anymore. I could run it with a little electricity. Now let's see, there it goes. Unfortunately, in the box with my first electric train, which was a cheap one, there was an Ives catalog with this big, beautiful standard gauge with real lights in the cars and headlights. And the more I looked at it, the punier my little electric train looked. And I used to dream of seeing this on my layout. My father says, it's too expensive. It costs too much money. To which I replied, someday, when I grow up and get a job, I'm going to have lots of these toy trains, and I'm going to have that orange train. And he said, well, son, when you grow up to be a man and you're 21, you'll change your mind. And when he used to come over here and see all of this collection, it really blew his mind. I said, see, Dad, I was really serious. In the 20s, of course, all of the Ives trains were my favorites. I wasn't a Lionel fan. I thought they made funny proportioned cars, and they painted them crazy bathroom colors. Ives was the company that I love most, and of course they made stuff on the run-on track beginning around 1900. They're an old line toy company that started making toys way back in the 1860s. But so I still have a soft spot in my heart for Ives because that was always my dream. I guess we've had lots of famous people visit the Grizzly Flats Railroad. Just off the top of my head, the late Al Kalmbach, publisher of the Model Railroad and Trains magazine. Graham Claytor, he spent a whole day here. And he also collects toy trains. He's now president of Amtrak. And the famous author Edward Hungerford, who wrote those wonderful railroad stories and put on the pageant, Railroads on Parade in New York. And not to mention Michael Jackson, believe it or not. He came out here one day, incognito. All he wanted to talk about was Disney Studio. He's a Disney fan. You know, knowing that I worked there for years, he spent the afternoon asking me questions. This was just before he went on his tour. I took him into the train room and showed him the trains in the engine shed. And he really flipped. I could see his eyes sparkle just like mine used to sparkle when I was a kid, and he couldn't get over it. And as he left that Sunday afternoon, he said, or asked me, would it be all right if he came back someday? And I said, sure, anytime.
We asked Ward if he has any future plans for the museum.
Not really. I've come to the point where I really have to consider seriously what I'm going to do with all this stuff. I was hoping to give the full-size equipment to the museum out in Pomona, but the bill that was to establish a museum was vetoed by the governor. I've been approached by the Ford Museum at Dearborn to acquire the Mogul and the coach. I really should start thinking seriously about this, and anybody who does amass this amount of collection, whether it's dolls, cars, trains, teddy bears, Olympic pins, someday has to say, what am I going to do with all this junk? I don't know.
For more information on toy trains, may we suggest contacting the Toy Train Operating Society, 25 West Walnut Street, Pasadena, California, 91103. And then you can start receiving their monthly magazine.
Shop, look, and listen right here at WhistleStopUSATV.com.